شيخنا أصحاب الحقوق علينا. اللهم آمين. For those who are online, Babuji is just hitting some of the people who are in the house. So, inshallah. So we're continuing with أحكام المدود inshallah رب العالمين today. Last time we started with أحكام المد. The mad, we said it's like an elongation in the time when you are pronouncing one of the حروف of المد. Does anybody remember what are حروف المد? Brother. What are حروف المد? What are the letters of mad? Yes, mashallah, ahsant. Y. Alif, waw, and ya. And we said that mad in general is classified into two main categories. We covered the primary one last time, al-asli. Al-asli, it's usually two haraka. Haraka in the mad, a very critical component, is how long you elongate the alif or the waw or the ya. Mad al-asli, or the primary one, and its mulhaqat, its ancillary types, there are only two harakas. Simple examples of al-mad al-asli is al-mad al-tabi'i, where you say, for instance, udhina, so there is dhamma, and then followed by a waw, and then there is a kasra on the dal, and then followed by a ya, and then a fatha on the noon, and then followed by an alif. That's mad al-tabi'i. And we took three different types of ancillary mudud, which are also two harakas, and they are an integral part of the word. You cannot read the word actually correctly without applying this mad. Does anybody remember what were the names of those three types of mad, which are ancillary to mad al-asli? So mad al-asli is four types. I just said the first one now, which is mad al-tabi'i. What were the other three types? You remember? Any of them? Because we'll need one of them today. Sila sughra, yes, that's one of them. What else? Badal, mashallah. What's the first one? Iwad, ahsant. Tabi'i, Iwad, Badal, and Sila sughra. All of these are two harakas, right? So that's the end of the mad al-asli, the primary mad, where you have to do it. It's just an integral part of the recitation. Now we get to al-far'i, the secondary. These did not have a specific reason. They were just related to huruf al-mad itself. Udhina. You cannot pronounce the word correctly unless you do the mad. Here it is secondary because there is a reason for it. So the reason usually lies in what comes after harf al-mad. What comes after the alif or the waw or the ya. So the secondary have a specific reason. And those reasons are either al-hamza or al-sukun. Either al-hamza coming right after the mad, harf al-mad, or as-sukun, coming right after harf al-mad. Today, inshallah, we'll just focus on al-hamza, and then next time, inshallah, we'll talk more about the as-sukun. Al-hamza is very simple, inshallah, Rabbil Alameen. One thing to keep in mind, once you, in the asli, in the primary, what was the length of the mad? 2. In far'i, all of them, usually more than 2. Okay? All of them are more than 2. 3, 4, 5, and even 6 at some point of time. Okay? So, mad al-far'i, we said, have two main reasons. What are those? Okay, al-hamza and the sukun. So al-hamza, we'll talk about it today. Al-hamza, because of al-hamza, there are three types of mad. The first one is called muttasil, or in English, it's something like connected. Okay? What is al-mad al-muttasil? It's basically, we said it's mad al-far'i because of al-hamza coming after harf al-mad. So it's simple as that. Hamza coming right after harf al-mad in the same word. That's why it's called muttasil, connected. The hamza is connected to harf al-mad in the same word. What do you do when that happens? You do a mad. According to riwayat Hafs, it's either 4 or 5. It has to be 4 or 5. How long it is? 4 or 5. Okay? So an example is وَجَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ جَاءَكُمُ النَّذِيرُ. And consistency is very important when it comes to al-mad, where the reciters or qurra had reported several lengths. This one, for instance, it's 4 or 5. So the first one you meet in your recitation, if you make it 4, for the rest of your recitation has to be, all of it has to be 4. If the first one you see in your recitation, you make it 5, make all of them 5. So an example is جاءكم النذير سوء العذاب. خلينا نبدأ آية. إلى يفتدوا به من سوء العذاب. سوء العذاب. So here is a mad. Why is there a mad here? Because fatha, harf has a fatha, followed by an alif. That's a mad. And now we have an hamza. So now it becomes mad far'i because of al hamza. And then you have the mad muttasil. So here it is, dhamma. And then you have waw. And then it's followed by hamza in the same word. هَاؤُمُ اقْرَءُوا كِتَابِيَهْ. And I picked that example specifically because in the Arabic language, sometimes the articles of ishara, where you're basically pointing at something, sometimes the Arabs add a ha in the beginning of that word. يقال لها هاء التنبيه, to alert you. They don't want to start with a hamza or a dhal, so they add a hamza in the beginning, للتنبيه. This one is different. This one, the ha is an integral part of the word. So this is مد متصل. هاؤم اقرأوا كتابيه. So this is a مد المتصل, connected. Now, what if the same situation happens? You have a mad, which is basically you have a harf with a fatha followed by an alif, or a harf has a kasr followed by a ya, or a harf has a dhamma followed by a waw, and then a hamza comes after. But they're occurring in two separate words. So the mad is coming at the end of one word, and the hamza is coming at the beginning of the next word. Same like this exactly, but the issue here, it is happening in two different words. So now we call it al-mad al-munfasil, disconnected. I mean, this is my best. If you have a better translation for the word, let me know. But it's basically disconnected, like fasal, separated maybe, separated. Why are we calling it separated, brother? What's separated here? What is the difference? Why is this connected and this one is separated or disconnected? What is the difference? Yeah, go for it.
Because it is connected with the previous word.
Mm-hmm. What is happening? What are the two things happening in the same words?
Because after the mad, the harf is the hamza is following after the mad.
In the same word. In the same word. That's why it's connected, muttasil. Whereas here, it is still a hamza coming after the mad, but it's happening in a separate word, in a disconnected word. So now it becomes called mad munfasil. Okay? Mad munfasil. How long do I do it? 4 to 5 harakas. So what difference does it make? We'll get to that at the end. But you have to differentiate between the muttasil and the munfasil. Now an example of the mad munfasil, آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه. The last few ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah. Bima, because you have ma, mim, usfath, alif, mad, and then you have hamza. قالوا آمنا. So you have harf with dam, followed by a waw, so that's a mad, and then a hamza is coming after, but it's in a new word. Now we'll get to ha al-tanbih. This is the one that I wanted to talk to you about. This word, for instance, هؤلاء. The word هؤلاء. Actually, اسم الإشارة, or the dhamir here is أولاء. But the Arabs add the ha in the beginning. It's called ha للتنبيه, to alert you. So, in the Mus'haf, they are mudghamin, they are combined as one word. So technically, this is actually like this. هؤلاء. So what is that? This is harf with fath followed by an alif, and then what's happening? A hamza. So this is a mad munfasil. But in the Mus'haf, to make it easy for writing, they wrote it this way. So when you see the word هؤلاء, you see here is the alif, and here is the mad. That's actually a mad munfasil, although it looks like it is in the same word. But those are two words that were merged together. So this is still a mad munfasil. Okay? Also, dhamir antum. This is also used to be, technically it is ha antum. Same rule. And then we merged them into two words and it became ha antum. So this mad in haula and this mad in ha antum is mad munfasil. Why do I need to differentiate between the muttasil and munfasil? We'll get to this at the end. We'll add another layer of separation between these types of mudud. Same for ya ayyuha. Again, it is actually ya, this is harf nida, when you're calling somebody, ya ayyuha. And then they merged it into one word, so it became ya ayyuha. So this mad that you see on top of an alif that's buried between the ya and the alif, this is this one. So all of these are examples of mad munfasal. What is this alama? Alamat al-mad. Did you notice this alama? Where did it came from? I think we talked about it before. So the people who used to write the mushaf in the beginning, they used to write, let's say for instance, ja'akum al-nazir. They used to write the following. They used to write above it, mad. The actual word, mad. And then over time, this meme dal starts getting into like this. And then over time, it basically became like this. So when you see this, this is originally the word mad. But over time, they make it like easier because they don't want to write letters on top of letters. It becomes difficult to read. But this is the history of this. This used to be like this. So they kind of first expanded the meme and left the dal, and then they eventually expanded the dal to look like this. This is where it come from. The people who wrote the mushaf knew that most of us who will eventually receive the mushaf are either Arabs who don't know how to read Arabic or non-Arabs. So they wanted to make it very easy to put even the ahkam on top of the letters. Okay? So how long do we make it here? 4 and 5. 4 or 5. And again, be consistent. If the first mad munfasil you make it 4 harakas, then all of them that comes after should be 4. If the first one you make it 5, make all of them 5. Is this clear? The difference between the muttasil and munfasil are clear? And your clue is always alamat al-mad, this alama.
Ahmed, can we clarify in ha'um, wa ha'ula, wa ha'antum?
Yes.
People are, yeah.
Ha'um, this is not ha'um. This is not, there is no word called and then we added ha before it. This is not like this. No. The word itself is ha'um. Let me. Ha'um uqra'u kitabi. Whereas here, the actual word is antum. The actual word is ula. The actual word is ayyuha. And then here you added adat al-nida, ya. Here you added adat al-tanbih, ha. Here you added adat al-tanbih, ha. Even hadha. Hadha actually in Arabic, it is actually the. That's the actual ism al-ishara. And the Arabs add to it ha. هذا ما وعد. Do you say هذا or do you say هذا ما وعد الرحمن? Right? But there is no mad متصل here because what's coming is the. Right? So this is هاء التنبيه. We call it هاء التنبيه. Is it clear inshallah? Any questions?
Yeah.
تفضل.
The indicator is safe for
Indicator is the same for all types of mudud. So that's why you need to differentiate between the types of mudud, because depending on the type, the length will vary. And depending on the type, you might be obligated to do it or not, which we will get to at the end.
So, Chef, one
تفضل.
question. I mean, see, so why are you differentiating? So what is, let's say if I didn't know about this.
Yes.
What mistake I would be reading? And then what will be new thing that will be learned?
Excellent question. The mistake that you will be
So
doing
say if I
is,
didn't know any of this, I didn't listen to this.
if you didn't do any of that,
If I didn't listen to you, what would I do? And then after listening to you, what would I do different?
first of all, you would learn about this alamat al-mad, that this tells you there is a mad. That's the first thing you would learn today,
Okay.
that there is a mad. And then after you learn about the mad, then you will learn when you have to do it and for how long.
Can you give me one example in the Quran, like let's say one.
This one, for instance, we'll get to it. So you know what? Let's jump to that part to answer your question. So the types of mudud in general, which applies to what we have covered last time and what happened and what we will cover today. It's either lazim, necessary, or wajib, obligatory, that's a lower level, or jaiz, customary. You can do it or you can miss it. Now, lazim or necessary are the type of mudud that all the reciters, كل القراء, they agreed on it and they agreed on how long it is. The clearest example is al-huruf al-muqatta'a in the beginning of the 17 surahs, 24 surahs. Like for instance, alif lam mim. All the qurra said that lam has to be done, mad. And all the qurra said has to be 6. That's what's called lazim, necessary. Remember, all of this mudud, same haraka. All of them will be like that. So unless you know the differences, you wouldn't know when you have to do it and it's necessary. The second type is called wajib, obligatory. What does wajib or obligatory means? Means you have to do it. All the qurra have agreed on it. But they differed on how long you do it. Is it 4 haraka or 5 haraka? A bit less. Simplest example is al-mad al-muttasil. This one is wajib. You have to do it. But you can do it 4 or 5. Alif lam mim, you have no options. You have to do it and you have to do it 6. Okay? This one, you have to do it, but you can do 4 or 5 and be consistent. Jaiz is customary. This is the one where they differed across the Qur'an. Some of them said you have to do it. Some of them said you don't have to do it. And they don't say from their minds. These are all recitations that they heard from Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that came to us through at-tawatur. An example of this is al-mad al-munfasil, where you can do it or you can completely miss it. Which means you can only do it as 2 harakas. Simple as if you're saying, where is the word? Bima anzal. That's it. You can say that. Or you can say bima anzal. Or you can say bima anzal 5. But again, here you have to be consistent. So why am I saying this? Because we don't have anything necessary today. This one is obligatory. This one, it is customary. And the last one is customary. So to get back to your question, if you missed completely the mudud, then first of all, you want to know the haraka for the mad. What is the indication that there is a mad? Now let's say you do it. Now you need to know what type of the mad to know how long it has to be. And you need to know the type of the mad to know, can you miss it or is it mandatory? So for instance, if I hear somebody reading, and that's, by the way, this is how I memorize the Quran. This riwayah is called Qasr al-Munfasir, which basically make this, I don't apply this. This is customary, right? So I can do it or not. I'd never do it, right? I have a short breath. So I can read it, bima anzal. Ahmad can read it, bima anzal. Muhammad Islam can read it, bima anzal. All of these are correct. But if you hear somebody reading the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah and he's saying, Alif Lam Mim, wrong. Even if he says, Alif Lam Mim, wrong. Short, too short. So that's why you need to know the differences of the different types of mudud and how long each of them would be. Okay? Once we're done, inshallah, with the end of the mudud, I'll give you some kind of an algorithm or scheme to skim through it very quickly when you're reading. And of course, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more your eyes are very accustomed to seeing the type of the mad and which one, and then you quickly classify it. Do I have to do it or not? And if I have to do it, how long should it be? Is this clear to everybody? Inshallah? Okay. Thank you for the question. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes.
Going back to
Which one?
So you said that are these 2 only letters used to get your attention? You said Arabs used
No,
to.
ha is harf al-tanbih. Yeah, the ha is the only one that I'm aware of that is used for tanbih in the Mus'haf. Ya is not used for tanbih, it's harf nida. When you're calling on somebody, you wouldn't say,
Oh, you.
Ya Ahmad. Oh, you. Yes. Oh, you, Muhammad. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. Okay? Like when you say, Ya ayyuha ar-rasul, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik. Oh, you, messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Report. That's what it means. Okay? The last type of the mudud, because of the hamza, is called sila kubra. And if you remember the Sila Sughra, this is just a variation on the Sila Kubra. Is basically a variation on the Sila Kubra. We said Sila Kubra or Sila Sughra was related to al-ha, harf al-ha, which is used in damir. Damir is a pronoun used for the singular masculine, who's not here. So I'm saying, my money. Mal Ahmed. Rather than saying Mal Ahmed, I can say Mala. Malu. So the ha comes as a replacement for a singular masculine who's not here. Right? And we said that Sila Sughra is technically, you have a ha damir coming at the end of a word, and it's preceded by a letter that has a haraka, and it's followed by the first letter in the next word that has a haraka. And then, if that's the case, then it becomes one of the types of ancillary mad, and you do it 2 harakas. Special case is if the letter coming after it is al-hamza. In that case, it gets bigger. Rather than being a minor sila, it becomes a major sila, sila kubra. And then you do it 4 or 5 harakas, exactly like these others. And it is customary. You can do it or you can miss it, but be consistent. If you do it in the first ayah you read, do it for the rest of your recitation. If you miss it in the first ayah that you read, or the first time you meet it when you're reading, then you be consistent, don't do it. Consistency is a key. What is the example here? Surah Al-Humazah. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَهُ. You remember what was the alama, what was the sign that this is a Sila Sughra? You said after the ha, where the letter before it has a haraka, letter after it has a haraka, you will see a small waw, right? At the bottom. That's Sila Sughra. What is the Sila Kubra difference? You will see alamat al-mad, this alama. So you will see waw, on top of it this alama. Or you will see a ya, followed by this, over it this alama. Now this is telling you this is 4 or 5. This is Kubra. This one is at Surah Abasa. فَلْيَنْظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَى طَعَامِهِ. طعامه, sorry, no, I put it wrong here. It's not here. فلينظر الإنسان إلى طعامه أنا صببنا الماء صبا. Okay? Now, let's apply this to these. Everything we talked about in the previous time, which was asli, was actually, you have to do it. They don't even classify because it's part of the word. It's 2 harakas. Whereas what we talked about today, mad al-muttasil or al-munfasil or al-sila al-kubra. Al-muttasil, the connected, that's obligatory. You have to do it. You have to. You cannot miss it. 4 or 5 and be consistent. Mad al-munfasil, the separated one or disconnected one, it's customary. Either you decide you do it consistently throughout your entire qira'ah, or you completely miss it. And if you do it, then it has to be 4 or 5. And the Sila Kubra, again, it's customary. You can choose to do it or you can miss it. And if you do it, it's going to be 4 or 5. Major Sila. Those are the 3 types of mudud that are happening because of a hamza coming after harf al-mad, which is the one of the 2 main categories of the al-mad al-far'i. Secondly, because it has a reason. Okay? And we talked about anwa' al-mudud, lazim, necessary, which we haven't come across yet. We'll get to it in because of the sukoon, because you will start getting to huruf al-muqatta'a, or mad wajib, the obligatory, which basically you have to do, but you can have a choice, either 4 or 5, or jaiz, which can be done 4 or 5, or you can miss it and just do it as 2. Right? Just be consistent in your recitation. Be consistent in your recitation. If you decide to do this, do it throughout your recitation. If you decide that you're not going to be able to do it because you have a short breath like myself, don't do it at all. Okay? Now, if I put here a mad, we said that this one in ha'ula, this mad is munfasil, right? Is it customary or is it obligatory? This one, and the first one, the ha, alif. What is this mad? What is the type of this mad? No, what's the type? Munfasil. I can do it or I can miss it, right? How about the mad that's happening on this alif? What is its type?
It's part of the word.
Which part is it? Yeah, so what type of it? What is the type? Tell me the name in Arabic or in English. Muttasil, because it's the word. Muttasil, connected. So maybe if it's easier, connected, disconnected, and then major sila. So you see the difference? So if I'm reading, because I don't apply al-madd munfasil at all, I would say, هؤلاء. I missed the first one because I don't do it. But the second one, I have no options. I have to do it. I know, for instance, Nader reads with this mad. So Nader has to do it this way. هؤلاء. He did both. And he will be consistent throughout his recitation. Whenever he meets a mad munfasil, he will make it. 4 or 5. Okay? Any questions? Any clarifications? Yes.
Asli,
Yes.
those are lazim or?
Those are part of the word. I mean, these things actually do not apply because these are integral part of the word. You don't have an option. Because like, let's say for instance, udina. You don't have an option. It's mad. Simple mad. It's 2. All of these are related to more than 2. All of them are 2. There is no option. If you go below 2, then you've changed the word. Whereas these ones, all of them, that's why I said, all of them are more than 2 harakas. Yeah, I'm putting Arabic and English. More than 2 harakas. And that's why it becomes relevant whether I have to go beyond 2 harakas or not. Because that's the base. 2 harakas is the base. So in each type of mad, you have to know what is the type of the mad. Why? Because it determines the 2 most important things about the mad. Do I have options in doing it or missing it? And how long should I do it if I'm doing it? So is it optional or is it mandatory? Is it necessary or obligatory where I have no options? Or is it customary? And if I'm gonna do it, how long should it be? Okay, go ahead.
For us Ajami's, we don't know the Hamza is a part of the word or not.
Yeah, that's why I gave you this example specifically.
We'll just look at the mud and then we'll do it.
Exactly. That's why I picked this example specifically, because these are examples where the mad is in the middle of the word, but it's actually munfasil. That's why I picked this example. يا أيها ها أنتم هؤلاء. I don't know if there are any other examples of ha at-tanbih. There might be one more. يا أيها يا أولى ها أنتم هؤلاء, which we didn't cover. يا أولي الألباب. Yeah, this is another one, which is not ها التنبيه. This one يا النداء. For instance, what did I say? يا أيها.
يا أولي.
يا أولي الألباب. يا أولي. So you will see a mad, you will see an alif here, and you will see the mad here. Again, this originally is harf nida. It's originally ya uli. O you who have something. Uli is somebody who owns something or has something or says something. So this is technically ya uli, and then it got merged. So this is the alif that got merged, and this is the mad that happened because the mad is followed by hamza. Those are to my knowledge, are the 4 examples where the mad looks like it is in the middle of the word, but it's actually mad the munfasil. Let's highlight them with a completely different color, in case you're taking pictures. So, يا أيها ها أنتم هؤلاء يا أولي. Unless we find another example, which we have missed, whenever you see a mad in the middle of the word, then it should be muttasil. These are the exclusions, these are the exceptions where it is, the mad looks like it's in the side of the word, but it's actually munfasil. منفصل is disconnected, متصل is connected. Clear inshallah? Any questions? Remember, now when you're reciting, inshallah you should be applying the rules of النون الساكنة والتنوين, the rules of الميم الساكنة, the rules of النون الساكنة والميم المشددة, rules of اللام, حرف اللام, like لام التعريف. And you should be starting to apply part of the أحكام المد. Okay? Then let's start before Muhammad Islam falls asleep. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك اللهم ونتوب إليك.